Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 28th day of May. I hope everybody had a good, thoughtful Memorial Day weekend. I worked most of it, but I did get Sunday off. Got a great show with you for tonight. Going to talk about the passing of Bill Walton, the great Bill Walton. I knew him more as an announcer than a player, but I do know that he was a well of a player in his day. Pretty shocking death there. Nobody knew he had any kind of cancer publicly. I didn't know that. Dealing with prostate cancer. So we'll talk about that. And, of course, we got a big game on tonight. Probably going to be the closeout game. Probably going to be the closeout with Dallas and Minnesota. Going to get into that, of course. And Celtics getting back to the finals, regardless of the fact that they had breaks. They're prepared. They're a deep team. They deserve to be there. The Boston Celtics. And Nico Collins in the NFL has signed an extension. I'll say what that means for the Houston Texans and more. Let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here in 49 seconds, and we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then, looks like I'm back here live. I don't know. Okay, screen. I was having some problems with my screen earlier. I don't know what's up with this internet here lately. I don't know. But anyways, as my phone loads up here with all my information on it, I do want to thank Ralph Williams for having me on his program today. Ralph out of the Pittsburgh area there, talking about the Tennessee Titans. Him and Smoking Jim Frazier, not Joe Frazier. Jim Frazier out of the Pittsburgh area. Tune into the Sports Corner. I want to say they come on at around 4 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays. I know for sure there. But I'll have his program posted on my social media links here. Ralph Williams show, him and again, Smoking Jim Frazier here, talking about the Titans on his program and whatnot. Even talk about some of the greatest Pittsburgh Steelers of all time. There was some type of what NFL Network put the Steelers top 10, and they didn't put Ben Roethlisberger in there all the time. So, anyways, that was a great to be on there. Thanks again, Ralph. Of course, Ralph was on my program last week. One day this week, I'm going to do some cuts here and put some of the shows, particularly with Ralph's comments about the Steelers, on here. Probably one day later on this week, probably Thursday or so. Been working a lot. Okay. I think this is the most interesting series, even though I'll be honest with you, I did not expect Minnesota-Dallas to be 0-3. I thought this would be a hard-fought 6 or 7 game last shot type of series here. I tell you what, I'm more disappointed in the Timberwolves than anything. The coaching staff, Chris Finch, woefully outcoached here by Jason Kidd. And, you know, Draymond Green said it right off the bat here. said, and also Barkley chimed in, and I should get that. I don't think I got that soundbite. Karl Anthony Towns was 0 for 8 Sunday, 4 for 32 in this series from 3. And I said this about the Celtics when they lost their home game back in, what was it, game 2, I want to say, to the Cavaliers, that they just got 2 3-point happy, and particularly Al Horford. Now, Horford does hit it a lot. He hits that 3, but you are a big man. It's your job to get that ball inside in the paint here. That's what the guards are for, to shoot those 3 balls. It's usually going to your highest percentage shooter. And Towns is just 3-ball happy after 3-ball happy. And they have shot themselves into 3 straight losses. They should have won Sunday. I mean, shoot, they should have won game 1. They should have won a lot of the let me think about it for a second. Game 2, 20-point lead blown in game 2. Just bad shot after bad shot. But a lot of that goes to kids coaching there and and pushing and keeping the ball out of Anthony Edwards' hands in crucial times, particularly in game 3 in the fourth quarter. Seemed like I saw the same play three times in a row. He pushes it off to his left, gets inside the wing there, throws it to the right side, passes it outside to the right. The guy to his right passes it back to the corner 3, brick. Same thing. He runs into, sometimes looks like a zone they're running, like a triple team, whatnot, and Anthony Edwards. Push the ball off, bad shot, rebound Dallas. If you've got that kind of size, why use it? It really hurts when you have bigs like that and you're shooting long jumpers after long jumpers, because that helps out the guards. That helps out the opposition. When I was playing for the YMCA or whatever, I loved it when the big man take the 3, because the paint's already clear. He's already out there. And a lot of times it'll just go right back to me or somebody else on my team when the big guy takes a 3 and shoots it, instead of him being right up under the basket trying to get a high percentage shot. And he can go up there and take it out. You said, well, if it was that easy, how come I don't know why they're not doing it. Even when Derek Lively went out, they still hung on and won that game. He went out in the second quarter of game 3. So I thought, well, maybe they'll take advantage of this. And Dwight Powell, he showed up, but it is going to be a fallout. There's a chance Minnesota, with the right game plan, will win the game tonight. Now you're starting to hear people talk about Karl Anthony Towns and maybe possibly just moving on from him at the end of this in the off season. There's been talk about moving on for Towns for 2-3 years now, even before Edwards took off. Towns has not been happy there. I'm sure he's happy now. I mean, the team's winning. I thought they were going to be the favorites to get to the finals, winning the first 6 games, coming back 20 points down. I cut them some slack in that loss in game 1, even though it was at home to Dallas. But blowing that 20-point lead at home, then turn around and taking just bad shots here. And Green also mentioned the fact that maybe Chris Finch, it's probably best for you to take these guys off the court, even if it is your 2 bigs. Like Paul Pierce said. Paul Pierce said about Rudy Gobert, he's that defensive player of the year, but he's not playing any defense. He cannot get out there on that perimeter like that and follow Luka out there, because then you're just sucking him away from the basket here. He's like he's on ice skates back there, following out Luka Doncic, And then, of course, I just mentioned Karl Anthony Towns taking 3-pointer after 3-pointer, and just go small. Bring Nas Reed and Jalen Daniels in and just go small and try it at that. Draymond Green said it because going back 2 years, Steve Kerr pulled him out of the finals. He was a starter at the beginning of that finals against Boston. They were that was a 1-1 series going back to Boston. Thought Boston was going to take this series. Totally turned around the series. Started using some substitutions there. Kerr did, and ultimately we know what happened. They end up winning that particular series in 6 games. Now, down being 0-3, this thing is pretty much over with. They may be able to save face tonight and be able to get this win out. I doubt it. But there's simply too many fall-away jumpers. And again, you really got to give the credit, obviously, to this front office here for establishing a lot of depth here with Dallas, but also Kidd. He's putting in some really good substitutions. Folks, hold on just 1 second. I've got to turn my air down just a little bit. I'll be right back here in less than probably 10 seconds. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to... Okay, sorry about that. I've got to have this air on 68 when I've got this suit on, especially here in the summertime. I'll be burning up here. So anyways, all right, so Celtics. Celtics are back in the finals. And going back to what I said earlier about shooting the 3-ball, getting 3-ball happy, ever since I feel like the coaching staff, probably all those extra coaches that they brought in, your Sam Cassells of the worlds and your Jeff Van Gundy's of the worlds, said, listen, folks, you got to stop shooting those threes if they're not falling. And ever since their game 2 loss there to Cleveland, I noticed that they're getting the ball to the rim more. They're simply getting the ball to the rim. Your Drew Holidays of the world, your Jason Tatums, Brown. Now, I know they had their scare in game 2 against Indianapolis or against the Pacers. They flat out almost blew that game here, if not for a heroic 3 by Jaylen Brown. But generally speaking, they've made a more conscious effort to penetrate when that ball's not falling. That being said, I know a lot of you, myself included, I know a lot of you are saying, okay, boy, this team got lucky this year. You know, first of all, you've got to put yourself in position to get into the playoffs, to be able to get that 1 seed like Boston has. Kudos to them. And mind you, Porzingis has been out for what? A series and a half? You know, he's been out for a series and a half himself. But looking back on this thing, remember Boston, they played Miami without Jimmy Butler. Okay. They played Cleveland without Jared Allen. And those last 2 games, they played the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. Okay. So, yeah, they caught some breaks. But remember in the past that they haven't had Jaylen Brown. They've had to struggle a couple years ago in a 7-game series that they won 2 years ago against Miami. Probably what took them out. That fatigue from that grueling 7-game series. And I wanted to say they played, 6 with Philly that year, 2 years ago. That was probably played a big factor in them losing that Golden State series. That and Kerr simply outmaneuvering that year's Boston's coaching staff. Of course, this year they didn't even make the finals. The Heat end up getting to the finals as well. But gotta really credit management there for building depth on Boston. You know, they will have home court advantage in this next series. But that being said, what are they, 2 games above 500 in the last couple of years here? So this is going to be an interesting series here. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure I'm going to pick it yet. Be honest with you. I want to see if Porzingis has come back. I know Lively has got a neck sprain. I don't know how severe that is. I know that there was an incident where Karl Anthony Towns' knee hit him in the back of the neck. He was down for a few minutes. Could it just been a stinger? Either way, Boston don't have to play until next Thursday. And if Dallas can take care of business tonight, they're not going to have to play until next Thursday. So it's the battle of attrition with those two particular bigs there. But I'd probably still lean Dallas because, look, again, Boston hasn't shown anything. They haven't shown any kind of dominance there as far as home court is per se, you know. It's going to be an interesting series. I mean, that being said, I didn't think the last two Western Conference games would go the way they did. Don't get me wrong. I thought that Denver was sure going to win. That 20-point defeat there, 20-point collapse there that they gave up at home will haunt them forever. I mean, that's going to haunt them like nobody's business here, you know. And who would have thought Minnesota would be down 0-3 to Dallas? But part of that, they ran out of gas, and I do think that when you look at Towns shooting the ball short, that's probably because he's fatigued. So, all that being said, I do think that this is going to be a very interesting series. Throw out the regular season records between Boston and Dallas here. You've got Luka and Kyrie, who now people are saying Kyrie's this big, great player, and he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm thinking a year ago, you people were saying that Kyrie's a cancer. He's overpaid. Why would anybody extend him? And two things can be true. He can be a cancer when he wants to and disrupts team and push his way out of town and not show up in big games. But I did read today he's 14-0 in closeout games. That's closeout games. That's not just big games in general here. Bad defense, just going out, drifting far apart from the team here. But like I said last week about Kyrie, he's like a receiver. He's like one of those diva receivers there that he cannot be the man. He can't be the quarterback. And you look at the fact that he's looking at this team now, and now you got a more mature, 24, 25-year-old, much poised and mature Luka Doncic there, who Kyrie's saying, I'm going to let you be the man. I got to play this side road here. I'm not going to get too crazy on defense. I'll try a little bit harder on defense, and I'll play my role here on the outside, just like a wide receiver, right? And throw in the fact that front office has got brought in guys like, who's it? Daniel. Brought in the other center there from Washington to play alongside with PJ Washington, who is just absolutely killing it there on their team. So he's a guy that you probably, if you can win a championship this year, take it and maybe come up with another plan to bring another player in there. So once you pay him and things don't go perfect, and somebody was saying something like they brought a chef for him to feed him during Ramadan, and I heard this on Fox Sports the other day. May have been, I think it was Colin Cowherd or Jason McIntyre here on their show. I want to say I heard it, where they find him in private jets for personal issues and all that, $200,000 private jets and whatnot, going way above and beyond to cater to Kyrie. But really, it's It's really the team around him, and he's not asked to carry the team. He's simply not asked. He's simply saying, you be a cog. You be a role player. Okay? And what's he, 31 now? He's post 30. He's starting to realize that, and a little bit of maturity on his side. But he'll go back to being Kyrie before it's over with. But they're the greatest backcourt. You got to win this championship. I'm leaning Dallas right now. But if Porzingis can come back, and we're going to be able to read up on practice reports and everything, because he's very close. There was a possibility he could have came back last night, but he didn't. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't see him in the box score. Didn't watch much of the game, But Clutch Points put this out: most playoff teams by a duo in NBA's history without a championship. John Stockton, Karl Malone, 172 playoff games. Stockton, Malone did not win a championship. Very unfortunate. Jordan got in the way. This is from Clutch Points. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, 110 games, and that destroyed West mentally. At least he got his championship. Really disappointed that Ewan and Charles Oakley, 106. And yes, Reggie Miller, Dale Davis, that's also Jordan effect there. And, of course, the Knicks as well put them out a few years, that 1 year Jordan. And then 102, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So they've got 71 more playoff games to break the record to be the duo most playoff games together without a championship. Now, if you look at it from the fact that Luka Doncic has been dealing with an injury and he's still playing well, dealing with multiple injuries. And you look at the fact that Boston's big two there, primarily healthy, knock on wood, Boston fans. And they've sailed even without Porzingis there. Horford's playing like some of these games, he's looked like he's 28 at times instead of 38, right? So maybe it's just a battle of attrition. It's something to think about here as we go into the finals 1 week from Thursday. 1 week from Thursday. It's always around that first Thursday in June. Okay. Switching gears here. You know something? Let me get into the this Bill Walton story. Since we're staying in basketball, okay. Bill Walton, 71 years old, announcer, great announcer. I mean, great color guy in his day. Excellent center, one of the best passing point center. Got a lot of sound bites on him. A lot of sound bites on the great Bill Walton. Some people called him a point center, like, point guard, point forward, point center, way ahead of his time. Walton would have been able to, he would have really fit in well with this group. He would have been like a Joker or somebody like that of this age here. His level of coordination way ahead of his time. Drafted out of UCLA, one of the greatest, and I'll play out some stuff here about his college career. One of the greatest college players of all time. Died of prostate cancer yesterday. Nobody knew about it. Hall of Famer, two-time All-Star, which I thought maybe he made more than that, but he had foot problems as a player. Two-time NBA champ, two-time All-NBA, sixth man of the year on that Celtics team in '86. That dominant Celtics team that won the championship pretty much wire to wire. Two-time All-Defensive team. Just a well of a player here. Probably could have had more. Jay Billis from ESPN says one of the best college players of all time. Listen up here. Jay Billis here on Bill Walton. Jay Billis of ESPN on Bill Walton. This was yesterday. Really good stuff.
But embedded in the game that would tell you that Bill Walton was the best player to ever play college basketball. He was a big time scorer. He had 44 points in the title game, NCAA title game against Memphis State. He was 21 of 22 from the field in that game. Just a legendary performance. But that wasn't unique. I mean, he was dominant in almost every game he played. A voracious rebounder and perhaps the finest passing center, not only of his generation but of all time. Outlet passing, you name it. He was a complete basketball player that could run, super athletic, was all about team, and he was the catalyst of that 88-game winning streak that UCLA had over that time period.
88-game winning streak led by the head coach there, the great John Wooden there. Did not know that. I knew he played on that team. I knew that team was great. But didn't know he had that much regard. Obviously, people would say that Lou Alcindor, which later became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was the main catalyst on that team. But some could make the argument maybe he was more coordinated than Jabbar and a much better passer per se. Just could not keep his feet healthy. You know, a lot of big guys got foot issues there. And my dad used to joke around that Kareem used to call him Dr. Scholes because he had so many foot problems there. Bill Walton. But I mainly remember him as an announcer. You know, he was a guy that would call people out. He was a very friendly guy, funny guy, really funny, good storyteller, big in the moment, per se, Bill Walton, with just describing the scene there, and more than just a basketball game. He's painting this great picture here, talking about it. But I remember him, I want to say he took over in 2002 as an NBA color analyst. And I've actually got some sound bites here when he was with Mike Breen back in 2003 during a Timberwolves, who was it there? Sacramento Kings, who was very good. They just at the finals year before that, talking about calling players out here and not playing nice here. Very funny, though. Very, very funny. Listen to Bill Walton here talk about, with Mike Green, talking about Kevin Durant here, Pickles. This is funny. Yeah. Garnett, excuse me. Kevin Garnett. I say Durant. I meant Garnett. This took me forever to find, by the way. And I got a point behind that here in just a bit. Listen up, Bill Walton and Mike Breen 21 years ago.
Whatever he wants. Penetration, jumpers, in transition. Where is the defensive resistance from Minnesota?
You know, I think the defense, they're all playing hard defensively, but there's so much good movement. Oh, Sprewell again, tough shot. And Sprewell 5 for 5 from the field, 11 points and 2 assists.
You sound like you've joined the coalition of the bought off.
You sound like you joined Bill Walton to Mike Breen, saying you sound like the coalition of bought off. Listen up, this is funny.
Whatever he wants. Penetration, jumpers, in transition. Where is the defensive resistance from Minnesota?
You know, I think the defense, they're all playing hard defensively, but there's so much good movement. Oh, Sprewell again, tough shot. And Sprewell 5 for 5 from the field, 11 points and 2 assists.
You sound like you've joined the coalition of the bought off.
Of the bought off. Oh, man. And now here he is getting on Kevin Garnett. I said it again. Kevin Garnett. Not getting to the free throw line, Bill Walton. Listen up.
36th in the NBA in free throw attempts. That's not good enough.
Well, as a team, they attempt the fewest amount per game. Massenberg and Johnson with a rebound. I think a lot of the reason, because he faces so many double teams, Bill, and he has to give up the ball so much when he's down low in the post. He's double teamed every time he touches it in the low post.
Iverson leads the league. You think he's not double teamed?
No.
What about Shaq? Garnett,
They're like
13 and
Karl
7.
Malone. These guys are double teamed all the time. Get to the hoop, draw some contact, please.
Clock, everybody stopped. Unwilling to pursue that ball until the whistle was blown dead.
Yeah. He's saying that, listen, Karl Malone double team, Shaq double team, Allen Iverson double team. Stop. Just get the ball to the rim. One of his famous lines, he didn't say it here, but we all know it. Throw it down, big man. More from Bill Walton calling balls and strikes.
Wheeler's going to have to play an important role for this team as they've lost some key bench players from last year. Vassell now with 8 points. Wheeler's going to have a big game. He used to play for Minnesota. Rick Adelman's going to play that emotion card huge tonight.
Rick Adams going to play that emotion card huge tonight. Okay, here is Bill Walton going off script. Typical Bill Walton going off script with Mike Breen. Again, this was 21 years ago, 2003. Very funny. Listen up.
Watch teams that can pass the ball. You're one of the terrific big men who could pass the ball throughout your career. You must love this. What are the ESPN rules on facial hair?
This a little context. They're looking at each other, both clean shaved, and he's like, "So what's in the ESPN's rule on facial hair?" Remember, who was it? Oh God, the great coach I just mentioned. The great coach there from UCLA made him get a haircut. Pickles. Made him get a haircut before he played, and he did. So the UCLA coach, yeah. Listen up.
Concentrate on the game. Wanted a call. Hoiberg throws the pass. Singala knocks it away, but Hoiberg takes it right back. And the ball knocked out of bounds. How can you say unbelievable comeback? Who hasn't beaten the Celtics of late? Not being down by 26.
But he starts talking about the Celtics. He goes on, and Mike Breen says, "Well, the Celtics, Coach Wood, John Wooden. Thank you, Pickles. Brain cramp there." Breen says, "Hey, Celtics, so and so comes back on the Celtics, beat them." He's like, "Well, who hadn't come back on the Celtics? That's like other than maybe the Knicks allow."
Who hasn't beaten the Celtics of late? Not being down by 26 at halftime.
Now you're talking Nick territory here.
Cold to start this.
And it's just hard for Mike Breen to keep a straight face, working alongside the great Bill Walton here, which is just too funny, folks. And I want to see if I can get this other one. Speaking of John Wooden and talking about what he learned. This was at a function, probably at UCLA's graduation or whatnot. But here's Bill Walton, if I can get it to come up here, talking about lessons on life and leadership through the prism of basketball from UCLA coach John Wooden. Listen up. This is good stuff here.
Language unparalleled. And then Coach Wooden, he lived by his 2 sets of threes, and he implored us to give it a try. And those 2 sets of threes: don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. That covers a lot of ground. And then Coach Wooden had a billion maxims and mantras that he would throw out at just the appropriate time. His use of the English language, unparalleled. That was his true love. And so he would say things to us like, be quick, but don't hurry.
I love that. Be quick, but don't hurry. You say, well, what about that in life? Yeah. When I'm in a hurry, I forget my car keys. I forget my work keys. When you're in a hurry as a basketball player, you bounce the ball off your shoe and it goes out of bounds. That is, you turn the ball over to the other team. Be quick, but don't get in a hurry. Other words, don't lose your track of thought. Don't lose your track of thought. Luka Doncic, let's just talk about Luka Doncic. He's a player that you can't ever speed him up. You can't ever speed him up. He plays fast. Very big. Number 7. Looked like the dad said the other day. Looked like a center in the NFL. but he's never really in a hurry. I love that. Coach John Wooden, one of the greatest line of advice for any college basketball player and for life. More from Bill Walton on the great John Wooden.
Whatever the heck that means. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Happiness.
Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Always be prepared. Always be prepared. That's huge for my line of work. Listen up.
Begins when selfishness ends. Never mistake activity for achievement. The worst things you can do for the ones you love are the things they could and should do for themselves. Stubbornness we deprecate, firmness we condone. The former is my neighbor's trait. The latter is my own. When everybody thinks alike, nobody thinks. It's okay to disagree, just don't be disagreeable.
Okay to disagree. That's great for the country, how divided we are politically. You know, I love that. Very, very smart here. More from Bill Walton, from his mentor, the great John Wooden.
And then the one that he wrote for me on the day I graduated from UCLA, June 1974.
June 1974, later drafted to the Portland Trailblazers. Pickles, do you remember that?
5.5 years ago. To Bill Walton, it's the things you learn after you know it all that count. John Wooden. That still sits on my desk. But his fallback go-to mantra was
the things you learn after you know it all. Ain't that the truth? Amen.
Always the same. He would look at us with a straight face, and he would say, he was a very serious guy, and took his job with great duty, solemnity, respect. He would look at us and he would say, remember, guys, basketball is just like life. It's not a game of size and strength. It's a game of skill, timing, and position. It's not how big you are. It's how big you play. It's not how high you jump. It's where you are and when you jump. And so while Coach Wooden is racing through all these positive aspects of our personal foundation.
How big you are, but how big you play. Charles Barkley, one of the best rebounders in the NBA. 6'4", always played like he was about 6'8". That would be a way to describe a guy like Charles Barkley. Play bigger than you are. Good stuff. More from Bill Walton.
I'm scratching my head. That's why I'm bald today, because I just can never stop scratching my head. And I would just look at him and I'd say, Coach, you cannot possibly believe these things that you're saying, particularly when you tell us that basketball is not a game of size and strength. Come on. Kareem has all the records. Shaq has all the money. And Wilt has 20,000 girlfriends. So you tell me it's not a game of size and strength? And he'd look at me and say, Walton, you're the slowest learner I've ever had. Don't you realize it's not about stuff? It's not about material accumulation. It's about training the mind to become the champion in everything that you do. But that requires you to play on the teeter-totter of life. Leadership and risk and fearlessness, ego, humility, and making that decision and the choice that I am going to make the sacrifice for the greater goals of the team.
Wow. Man, I love that, man. I mean,
2 sets of threes.
That's why I want kids to go back to college, you know, as far as the NBA's can. You need that type of coaching. And the video I played for you, the soundbite from that, this was Bill Walton probably 2 or 3 years ago. We had the gray hair. He was missing some up top. Probably 2 or 3 years ago. This was not a young Bill Walton. So the lessons he learned as a college student, 71, 72, 73, he's using those lessons that John Wooden taught him and repeating them off the top of his head when he's 67, 68, 69 years old. When he was, what, 21, 40, 50, some odd years later? So that Bill Walton was, you know, and those teams, 80-something game winning streak there or something like that UCLA went on. That's an example of why we need to get back to, the NBA needs to go back to 3-point, or not go back to, make it like the NFL, 3 years out of high school. Let these kids get some extra coaching. Let them learn from a guy like John Wooden. So Pickle says it was 88 in a row, 10 championships in 12 years. Nobody's even got close to that. Not even close, you know? And that people say, well, he had. I know Bob Knight said something about John Wooden. He had a fraudulent guy working for him, getting them players and yada. But he still had to coach them. He still had to coach them. Two things can be true. Those were good lessons and good coaching. But I'll definitely miss the great John Wooden. They lost to Notre Dame and went on another run. Yeah, that was in there. And maybe ESPN knew something we didn't know, because there was a documentary come out just last year. Now, they leaned a little too much into the Grateful Dead and all that, not enough into the stuff he learned from John Wooden, not enough in him calling players out. And going back to that, he did the NBA for ESPN for like ABC, whatever. Same thing, same big company for about 10 years. And then he got away from the NBA. Then they put him down in college. It's Arizona or something, calling Arizona games. And I thought to myself, I wonder if the NBA, with their thin skin, players started complaining about him calling players out. Although a lot of former players, your Danny Ainges of the world, Paul Pierce's of the world, all said they just love this guy. He did play on that great 6-man off in 86. Remember, he was drafted in 74. A lot of injuries. Still won his championship with that Portland Trailblazer team. But call Robert Parrish and say, is it okay if I come be a 6-man on that team? Are you okay that those startings? And of course, Robert's, yeah, I could use the back. You can use the backup, man. Of course, he comes out, wins 6-man of the year, coming off debilitating injuries 12 years into his career when he was getting there towards the end. But I think maybe that there was too thin skin and they didn't like the criticisms. I thought he was funny. I've said this before. I could not find this line on ESPN or anything from YouTube from the past archives. But his first year, he says, I'm in New York City. I'm living up there. It's 2002. And it was one of those early 12 o'clock Eastern start time games. And he makes the casual comment. He says, somebody needs to tell Chris Webber the game started at noon. And they replayed it on ESPN that night on SportsCenter. And he come out and balled out in the second half. Somebody called him in the locker room and said, hey, Bill Walton's calling you out there, man. He's calling you out there. You looking sluggish. So Weber comes back, plays well in the second half. Man, I love Bill Walton. Miss that guy. Anyway, he will be greatly missed. Okay. Switching gears back to the NFL. We got the playoffs out of the way. Wanted to get Bill Walton in second to last because I did not want to leave any of the great Bill Walton Bill Walton sound bites, pickles, to get rid of, to not be played here. Okay, so the Texans today extended Nico Collins. Okay, Nico Collins, 25 years old. Believe it or not, Houston, I could not believe this guy really took off last year. Him, Tank Dell, rookie at a third round pick, rookie pick. Nico Collins, he played 15 games, started in 10. He had some injuries. He didn't even play 17 games. 1,297 yards, 8 touchdowns. Talk about some chemistry here. And I got this off of this guy, Ari Morov, I told you works for the 33rd team here. This guy goes to the draft every year. I've told you all before about him. He says Nico Collins last year in his first year with Stroud, including the playoffs, 91 catches, 1,461 yards, 9 touchdowns in 17 games. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So here, the numbers are not bad. The numbers are very team friendly here. Here we go. Adam Scheffner says Texans and Nico Collins 3-year, $72 million extension and max value of 75. 52 guaranteed in 3 years for a guy who's just now 25 years old. That's a really good deal. That is a superb deal for the Texans, actually. Guy's probably happy there. He's looking at Stroud. He said, this guy, we're going to be playing in big games here. No state tax in Texas. But, the NFL, you get tax on the states that you play at. So even like if they got to play in California or whatever, you'll still get taxed for those games. But primarily your home games, per se, you're not going to get taxed in. But anyways, Nico Collins, you look at what he's done. Again, I just mentioned 96 catches, 1,400-something yards in 17 games. 2 of them games were in the playoffs, like I mentioned just now. You throw in him, you throw in Tank Dell before his injury, which he's supposed to be back from, even though he got shot in the offseason. He's fine now. The extension of Dalton Schultz. I said this a month ago. Why would they go out and trade for Stephon Diggs? Why would they go out and trade for Diggs? Diggs is overkill. They really didn't need Diggs. I think he'll look great early in the season. I think they'll be, with adding Danielle Hunter as a pass rusher, they're going to look great. About mid-October, when Diggs gets only 4 catches for 20 yards or something like that, and the defense is all over him, and they squeak out a close win over a Tennessee or whatever, Jacksonville, then I think that's going to set this team back. I think that would set. Diggs was subtraction by, addition by subtraction. I said that when Buffalo traded him. And by the way, they got Keon Coleman, really good player. Reminds me of Plexico Burress out of Florida State. Already looks to be liking it up there. He's going to be really good with Josh Allen, okay? But Diggs, you got something good with these players. These players are all growing together, But I'll put it this way. I could see this team being 5-2 come November at the trade deadline and trade Diggs. Don't be surprised. You heard it here first. Don't be surprised if they move Diggs and say, well, we just made a mistake. We like the young guys we got. He'll be great outdoors. He'll look good with this uniform early, but he wants the ball all the time. For those of you that played fantasy like I did and really caught on to Stroud, probably week 2, he wasn't that good in week 1 against Baltimore. But when you look at him in week 2, he sprinkles the ball around. It was hard to pick one guy. It was hard to pick because what he was doing, he's just picking the open guy. And I thought, man, this guy's a natural. He's the best. He's the best quarterback to come out of Ohio State. Probably since I've been watching for 30 years. I'm sure Kirk Herbstreit would agree. Justin Fields is already. Justin Fields made a comment. The guy that came out before him, Ohio State, he made a comment today. I didn't come here to return punts. He's already making noise. I'm not returning punts for the Steelers, So they're already talking about him returning punts. So, anyways, this is going to be a very good team. I still say the Bills won that trade. Bills got a 2nd-round pick next year from Houston. But this team is, man, I'll tell you what, they're loaded. Will Anderson and defensive end, Danielle Hunter, Dino Autry from Tennessee. Now, he's 33. Titans made a good move. Derek Stingley at corner, very good corner. Jeff Okudah, he can get beat at the other corner. But remember they added Joe Mixon. Damian Pierce. Now, Mixon's ahead of Pierce. I think Pierce will get back to his rookie form this year and be the starter at running back. But you got your rock solid left tackle there and Laramie Tunsil. Okay. They're going to be expectations are going to be high. Now, I will say this. Jacksonville's going to be much better. You can move Diggs. Now, Green Bay don't want him because they got a young group they're growing with. Diggs, you need a guy that is a veteran that's not going to take an ounce of crap off him or nobody. Like a Brady if he was still playing, a Rodgers, somebody like that, a Favre, somebody of that nature, somebody with a bunch of injuries that are in desperate need of a wide receiver, somebody that would come up, a sucker, a Dallas Cowboys. Remember, his brother plays with the Cowboys. I like his brother, though. His brother's coming off a rough injury from cornerback Trayvon Diggs. He's coming off rough injury, but I think they'll move him. But this is a loaded team. There's going to be big Jimmy Ward at safety, Al Jazeera. They got two or three former Titans. This is going to be a tough team. I wouldn't want to play them late. I wouldn't want to play them early. Excuse me. But remember, teams got a year tape on him, though. That's the thing. Pickle says Mixon, good weather. Yeah, Mixon's good. I would have moved off Mixon last year. I think he's lost a step. He doesn't quite have the outburst. I think Cincinnati done the right thing. But that being said, this is something I'll lean more into tomorrow, probably. Cincinnati already having holdouts here. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, neither showed up to mini camps. Okay, we've already heard about Trey Henderson wants out of Cincinnati. He wants to be traded. This guy that runs that team, Mike Brown is a hard line owner. Ask Corey Dillon. He had to go above and beyond to get moved out of Cincinnati. Ask Carson Palmer. Ask Carson Palmer. So I'm saying that this might very well open it up for Houston. This may open it up for Houston. Now, sometime later on this week, I'm going to dig into this Charger team. I think this Charger team is being way overlooked. They two edge rushers. They got two really good tackles there. And they got the quarterback and the coach to win big in this league, and now win right now, and Jim Harbaugh, that could very well be your sleeper there. But interesting to see how Pickle says Higgins will get paid. You can't pay them both. I would have moved those guys for depth on defense, but that's just me. That's what Kansas City did with Tyreek Hill. They knew they couldn't pay too many players. They knew they had to pay Kels. They knew they had to play Chris Jones first and foremost, other than Patrick Mahomes. And they figured, well, we can't pay this guy $25, $30 million a year. So they moved Tyreek Hill. But yeah, Houston's going to be interesting. Cincinnati, they got some chaos right now. I don't know if I'd pick Cincinnati right now. I was going to pick them because I know they got a lot of young players. And they got a very good defensive coordinator there. Very good secondary that was coming into its own towards the end in Cincinnati. But yeah, Houston very well may be that dark horse team to go really far. I guess they technically would be a dark horse since they made it to the playoffs last year. But Trey Henderson's coming into his third contract, so Mike Brown is going to be pretty cheap with him. If you folks like the show, share the show. I'll be back on tomorrow, same time, same place. We're coming up on summertime, and we'll try to get, when all the big sports are starting to slow down, I'm going to try to get some more guests during the summertime here. Get Jacoby Cox and Tony, his dad, back on the program. Jacoby, I think he's going into his senior year in high school, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to be a big-time quarterback in college eventually, and probably in the NFL. I'll try to get him back on the program. Aaron Bryant, pastor of my church, former Titan, try to get him back on, get his thoughts on the Titans, and of course, his preaching. And, of course, his son calls games here in high school, and I can't remember. I think it's one of the Christian schools here in the area. So stay tuned for all that, folks, and it's going to be a summer of good interviews is what I'm going to shoot for, okay? Again, if you like the show, share the show. And, again, thank you, Ralph Williams. Check out Ralph Williams' show here, okay? Check his show out. Let me make sure I've got it right. Ralph's show right here. The Sports Corner with Ralph Williams. Let's see. Every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central to 6. The Sports Corner radio show, Ralph Williams and Smoking Jim Frazier. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube. Find it on YouTube, Twitch, and, of course, the X app. And I came on there today, had a good time for a few minutes there and getting on Ralph. Ralph was a local radio guy for years in the Pittsburgh area. Now he's in transition of changing stations there. So just wanted to say that. So everybody have a good night. I'm going to get on this game as well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow, same time, same place, again here on Sportscope.